So hey guys, it's Plotsalot with another My Hero Academia What If video, and today we're going to be continuing What If Deku was Iron Man. So, on the last part, we had the sludge villain attack in the tunnel happen, and today we're going to be continuing with what happened after that. So, All Might asks Deku, "What's your quirk, young man? If it's not that suit of armor, then what is it?" Deku explains, "Well, my quirk isn't that fancy, I just have a computer as part of my brain so I can think fast and remember things well. Plus, I have this USB port on the back of my neck so I can, do stuff with electronics using it, and it's not very fancy, it's not as good as yours, All Might." So, All Might gives this puzzled look for a moment before saying, is it like a talking smartphone?" To which Deku gives a weird laugh and thinks to himself, "Oh my god, he's so cool." Deku then says, "Yeah, but I'd love to be a hero someday, but the problem is that it's really hard to do that with a quirk like mine. It's not flashy or strong on its own like yours. Heroes, they need to have real power, but even though I can react fast, my body it isn't fast enough or strong enough without the suit to do anything." All Might gets a little smile on his face. He's still intrigued by this young man, and he asks, "So, how did you make this suit? You must be fairly well off to have access to technology like this." To which Deku smiles and simply responds, "Oh, I made it out of the scraps from a beach near my house." All Might's shocked, and then he remembers for a moment. "Oh, you're the young man with the bench on the beach. I remember seeing you there a while back while I was doing my community service." Deku starts to become even more flustered. Wait, you remember me, All Might? Oh my god, I'm so sorry if I was disturbing you with all the noise and the construction. I didn't know I was intruding on you. I'm so sorry, All Might." All Might calms him down by saying, "Don't worry, it was actually quite mesmerizing to watch how you could sort through all that rubbish and recycle it into a force for good. I'm impressed, young man." All Might stares to the side for a moment before looking back at Deku. "How would you like to become a real hero?" Deku's stunned. This isn't the way he was expecting this conversation to go at all. What did he mean? All Might continues to explain. "Can you keep a secret?" "Yes, sir, I'll never tell a soul," squeals Deku in excitement. "I'm looking for my successor, and I think you might be him. Just maybe. Meet me at the beach tomorrow and I'll decide for sure." Deku gets a look of excitement before All Might leaps off into the air and out of sight, still thinking about this young man, how he'd seen him before and how interesting he was. Preoccupied with the thought of this interesting boy he'd met, All Might loses focus on his pocket with the villain inside, and the ball slips down to the city below. Deku's preoccupied with the thought of his conversation with All Might and doesn't notice either, and he stays in the tunnel for a bit, reminiscing on how amazing the situation he just got himself in, how amazing the thought of meeting with his idol, the #1 hero All Might is. A few moments pass, and a loud bang echoes through the city. Another incident's taking place, and All Might isn't prepared for it. He's all but finished with hero work after maintaining his hero form for that conversation with the boy, and he notices the bottle's missing from his pocket. Oh, crap. Deku nonchalantly heads towards the commotion, not knowing the horror that would ensue, or the profound effect on his future that this chain of events may have had. As he heads towards the scene, he notices that there's quite the crowd, and they seem worried. Where's All Might? He was in the city earlier. None of the other heroes seem to be able to do anything. I really feel sorry for that hostage. He might be a goner. He's just a kid too. Deku slowly edges towards the front of the crowd, and All Might, in his deflated form, watches, horrified from the back, cursing at his lack of power when he needs it the most. As Deku reaches the front of the crowd, he sees a familiar sight. It's the sludge villain from earlier, but he's got a hostage. There's fire everywhere, and none of the heroes around have the right quirk to stop his rampage. All Might's nowhere to be seen, and Deku feels at fault for distracting him from his job. Then, Deku sees a harrowing sight. It's his classmate and friend, Bakugo, struggling for his life, being suffocated by the slimy villain. Deku's mind races at a million miles an hour. Quite literally, his computer's whirring to maximum power as it calculates the best course of objective, and it repeatedly informs Deku that his chances of success here are actually making a difference are slim at best, but the determined youth ignores it all. He doesn't care if he's at risk or if he has no chance, because the essence of a hero is sacrifice and acting when nobody else will or can. And he knows he can't just sit idly by and watch his friend die before his very eyes. Deku quietly runs to the edge of the crowd and begins rapidly circling into the villain as he slams his hand on the bottom of his backpack, the Rustbucket assembling around his body as he runs into the fray, sweat dripping down his face as he can feel the heat of the flames licking against the metal of his suit. Deku ignores it all. The one primary objective on his mind rings loud and clear. He needs to stop this now. Everyone watching is in shock. A new hero? Who is this guy and what is his quirk? Is he going to be able to stop the villain? Even after all the other heroes failed to do so, this newbie? One member of the crowd is painfully aware of all of these facts. It's All Might watching on with a grimace as he knows he can't do anything but watch this kid give it a try. Rustbucket activates his thrusters and rushes at the still surprised villain. The sludge monster says, "You again, damn metal man, get out of my way, you stupid Iron Man," as Bakugo takes the lapse in the villain's concentration as an opportunity to let off enough explosions to free his mouth and scream "damn it all" before his face is once again enveloped in the suffocating green goop. Deku hovers in front of the villain and he raises his palm to him, saying, "That's enough," before the hole in his palm, whirring with energy, lets off a small blast and pierces a hole through the villain. It hits his eye. It causes him to scream in pain. And Deku uses this shock. He rushes straight at Bakugo, who's wrangling his arm free to let off another explosion. He grabs his wrist and attempts to drag him out with all of his strength. Deku can feel the suit straining against the sludge villain's strength as he reforms and says, "Not today, kiddo, this one's mine," before whacking a tentacle into the Rustbucket's leg, sending him spiraling out of control as the thrusters are no longer in balance, and he smashes into the ground head first. Deku's head's ringing, and as he raises his eyes back towards the situation, Deku sees the sludge heading towards his mask and he thinks to himself, "Is this it? Is this how my short time as a hero is going to come to a close?" Detroit smash rings through his suit as he's knocked away by the sheer air pressure and rolls across the ground as All Might's punch disintegrates the body of the villain. He's bleeding from the corner of his mouth and barely struggling to stand, but he raises a fist into the air. Deku's mind rings out a message into his mind. His computer, it's done a little bit of calculation. Subject, All Might, prone to collapse. Fatal injury detected in respiratory system. Deku gets up and whispers to All Might, "You know, I can see you're hurt. Let's get out of here before the press notices. We can't let the symbol of peace stop." Deku's smart in this timeline. He knows that if the media sees weakness, the villains are going to be watching as well, and that's not something that he can afford to do. He grabs hold of All Might's other arm, and he flies away into the distance. Bakugo, he's still confused as to the whole situation. Who's this weird hero? What's he doing with All Might? You know, what happened here? I was being suffocated a second ago, and now the villain's completely gone. It's raining now? What? He's really confused. Where are they going? That's the question on everyone's mind. What just happened? Bakugo gets home and he's thinking about that weird metal hero that saved him. I've never seen that hero before. Who is that guy? Is he a new hero? Bakugo's much more down to earth in this timeline, having shared the pedestal of being at the top with Deku, being the strongest and Deku being the smartest. And Deku being much calmer and having that influence throughout his life has made him realize that he's pretty good, but he doesn't necessarily need to constantly go on about how he's the best to everyone who can hear. Bakugo looks at the images of the hero online, just wondering who he was, and seeing if he could recognize him at all. And in one of the images, a rather blurry one, he notices something peculiar, and something that looks kind of familiar. It's a feature that I think nobody else would really see but Bakugo. A USB port on the back of his neck, and a tiny little tuft of dark green hair sticking out of the back. Bakugo gives a little smile as he says to himself, "That damn nerd really did make that crazy suit, didn't he?" Before lying back down on his bed, arms behind his head, legs crossed atop one another, thinking about what he's going to say to his friend, who just saved his life. And I think that's where I'm going to end this part for now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did cut it a little bit short compared to some of the recent videos, which have been like, 11, 12 minutes long. But I felt, I wanted to keep this one rather short but snappy. So, it was there's a lot going on in this one, you know, with the whole sludge villain attack included. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Bye, guys.